Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Two Dads Podcast Live. I'm Simply.
I'm Cheezo5.
And today we have a very special guest. But
Very.
before we get to that, would you like to hear some speed?
Please hit me with it.
Far?
Hit me with it at full force. I'm ready.
So, of course, ZFG has been on a slaughter, absolute killing spree, murdering it in Ocarina of Time. This new route, you know, I think he's gotten a newfound motivation. He's been grinding really hard, playing a whole lot, and he's done it again. 357.38 by ZFG. I believe he got first try Dampe. Sounds like he wants a 356 or a 355 before he is done with that. But man, he's really brought it down fast, a lot faster than I anticipated.
There's also a few days ago I saw him tweet a video of a new trick. I don't know if it's gonna be a new route, but there's some sort of new trick, and he mentioned something about new routing. I don't know how drastic it's gonna be, but again, more routes, more changes in OT.
Yeah,
as usual.
Yeah, especially with like such a brand new route, this new trick, everything's got to be figured out, and slowly but surely the OT community bringing it together. Good for them. Super Mario Odyssey, Susaiga has been on a little bit of a rampage, taking it in 101.28 4 days ago. Congratulations to that man. Very impressive stuff.
Odyssey continuing to be, I mean, war records exchanging every few days. And not only that, from not new players, but different players. So like Nigrovita, Suicide, Lil Curbs, and Stravos is another one coming up. Chaos Pringle got sub 1 or 2. So it's so many players out there. It's crazy.
Yeah, the game has definitely not died down at all. It's just a solid speed game. Like typically with these new games, you'll see them come out and then a lot of people will jump on it, get some good runs, and then a lot of people will fade away and the game might just kind of be forgotten, but definitely not the case for Odyssey.
Nah, dude.
A lot of love in the community. People working hard.
It's a consistent game in pretty much every way. So it's great for that competitive aspect.
Definitely. A new untied world record has happened in GoldenEye from a man by the name of Hayden King. Actual new up-and-comer in GoldenEye.
Yeah, that name doesn't ring a bell.
If my memory serves me correct, he's been playing for about 3 or 4 years. So he definitely is new to the community, but he is coming up strong, making plays in GoldenEye. Congrats to him. Got a 44 Egypt 00 agent, Craigas. This man, Ian Miles, 29. The Legend of Zelda,
another upcomer.
New up and comer in Wind Waker HD, up there with Linkus, and who's the other competitor, like top player from?
I mean, it was Fuzziness for a while, but I'm not. Is it Gymnast?
Yeah, I wanted to say Gymnast. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I know those 4 players are like some of the top. Yeah, it's probably Gymnast.
But he did it again. 59.06, really chopping that Wind Waker HD time down. It would seem like just not even a month ago they were gunning for that sub 1, and now looking to get sub 59. So that will be lit for sure. Last thing on the list, the man TGH has gotten another sub 30 in Celeste, taking it down to 29.55.
My favorite.
How is that, Cheese? How has the Celeste grind been? What do you think about a 29.55?
I mean, 2055. Not only that, but first of all, TGH is the Waraka is. There's a big difference between that and second place, but TGH is. I look up to TGH in terms of just being one of the most renowned speedrunners in that way, because TGH is crazy when it comes to that mindset. He has such a great mindset, and I look up to him that way. I learn a lot by watching him, and he has very good control as well. He's able to, control his stress, I guess, and frustration, and he just goes through with runs. He finishes runs, he tries again, and then he just pulls out his god run every few days, and then PBs again. He's the epitome of a good speedrunner. And a lot of people can learn from him.
definitely doesn't seem to get shaken by much. He
Yeah.
seems very calm, collected, and I guess that translates pretty well to his gameplay.
Yeah, I love watching him for that reason.
Cool. Well, that's about it in terms of news. There's always more news, but that's the highlights. Take us home, Cheese. What exactly is happening today? I heard
so
there's a big dude.
yeah, there's a big daddy today. We have a interesting guest. We did have a Melee guest before, and this is another one coming up. I mean, everyone knows who he is. He's one of the legends. One of the gods of Super Smash Bros. Melee. He has won too many tournaments, and he's still fighting. He's still working hard, and can't wait to see him in the next tournament. And he goes by the beautiful name Armada. So I would love to welcome him officially to the Two Dads podcast. Armada, how you doing, babe? Welcome.
What's up, guys? I'm doing great. Been a good day so far, and I think we're in for a good show. So I'm looking forward to it.
Sick. What's up,
Sweet.
Man? Okay, so go ahead.
Typically, we like to start it off with a question of how you got into this whole crazy world of competitive gaming. Where did it start for you, Armada?
So I started playing video games when I was like basically a year old. It's
Really?
footage from my dad. When I was a very young kid, because my older brother, he's 6 years older than me. So growing up, we already had like a NES and SNES before I was born. So I started playing video games really early, and it was always my hobby growing up. And then back in the early 2000s, they had like the Nintendo Championship in Sweden. They had like qualifiers across the country. One person qualified from each city, and then it was like the finals in either Gothenburg or Stockholm, the two biggest cities in Sweden. So that was like my first introduction to competitive gaming. That was in 2003.
Wait, was that for Smash?
No, those Nintendo games, period.
Like
wow.
Mario Kart?
Yeah, Mario Kart was very common. Smash was common. The qualifiers was more new games, like the newest console. And the finals was anything from NES up to the most current console. And it happened like once a year. So me and my brothers, we entered these tournaments. And then in 2005, I went to my first Smash tournament. My older brother, he knew the guy that was going to host the very first tournament in Sweden. And then he told me about it. And I've always been a competitive person, and I've always loved gaming. So I was like, all right, I'll kick some ass, which I didn't. But
wait, so, well, that said, you went in 2005, but were you already playing Smash for a long time? Or was that like your first Smash experience, and then after that you started wanting to be good at Smash?
It was my first tournament experience for Smash, but we bought the game when it came out,
right?
Which was May
2001 or 2002. Okay.
Yeah, 2001 was like in North America, and 2002. So we played it casually, like practically every day. It was my favorite game, and it was both Aneola's and Android's favorite game as well. So going into our first tournament, we all thought that we were good. Especially me, I thought I was good, but then I drowned in pools.
Oh man,
of course.
A reality check.
But that was when you realized, oh damn, this is some serious stuff, and then you started, I guess, grinding after that.
Yeah, I remember watching the grand finals, and I was like, everyone was like so hyped and so into it, and I was like, I want to sit there one day. I want to play the finals. So I went back home and started grinding.
That's awesome. Mike,
is it the rest is history? Just kept on the grind since then?
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So have you had any moments of like burnout or extended breaks? I believe there was one moment in history where you took like maybe a year or two off, or you were even saying you were done with the game. Is that true?
Yeah, that was in 2013. I competed for quite a long time at that point.
Right.
And the community in Sweden was pretty much dead.
Really?
Here in Gothenburg, it was like I had one friend of mine. He played with me once a month just because he wanted me to stay as number one. It wasn't really that he played because he wanted to play. He was like, looking out for his friend. And
poor guy.
then I played with Android occasionally. But besides that, it was very rare for me to get any practice. So I had to play alone a lot. So I got really tired of the game. And I also did not thought the game was going to be as big as it is now.
Yeah, I think most people thought that. But I mean, it just goes to show how much people actually care. So, so in talking about burning out and stuff, I guess in terms of Melee, I thought this is an interesting thing to ask. Because I don't know, if you look at Melee, there's pretty much tournaments constantly. There's not really any break or off season in Melee. There's always tournaments going on. What do you think that Melee deserves to have kind of like an off season for people to kind of just like chill out, to not, I guess, get more burnt out? Do you think it's too much tournaments going on?
Yeah, yeah, I do think it's too many important tournaments that are not spread out well enough. Like this past month, especially, it was like Evo, SmashCon, Air, Shine, all in the same month, and then you had Low Tier City the weekend before that, Smash Factor the weekend before that. It's like, yeah, I feel like we would benefit a lot from having an on and off season, and the off season doesn't have to be super long, but at least like a period of time, maybe like 2.5 months, where no super important tournament happens. I think it would benefit the players a lot, because it is mentally draining for sure, and even worse if you live far away from like where all the action happens.
Yeah, I was about to say, I noticed on your Twitter you mentioned you just been kind of tired. I imagine all the flying gets to be a little much at that point if you're flying every weekend. So are you just housing at Smashers houses for like a couple days and then you'll fly to the next tournament? Do you have like any permanent residency in the United States?
Yeah, basically how I do it is that during weekdays I stay with some local Smasher. A lot of the tournaments happens pretty frequently in the same areas, so a lot of the people I've known for many years. And then during weekends I stay at hotels when I actually do compete. And then next week, same thing, stay a few days housing, then a few days at the hotel, tournament, and repeat.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy. I mean, I feel like traveling twice to the US in 3 months, which I'm gonna do now for TwitchCon, and I thought that was a lot, but I can't imagine the Melee players and how they do this.
Well, everything is relative, right? First time when I traveled for one tournament, I was like, damn, this is crazy. It's like human beings have an easy time to adapt, at least fairly. So if you've done like 2 trips like back to back, then that will be like your new standard of what's like
exactly
not crazy hard.
I agree. It's definitely relative. Okay. So
now, go ahead.
Are you gonna switch topics? Because I was gonna switch topics a bit.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, right before the call, we had a tiny little talk. You're talking about a game that you started playing today casually, and this is one of the questions I was interested to ask you about casual gaming. Do you like casual gaming? Do you do it a lot, or do you never really care about it much? Do you like the competitive type gaming?
I feel like I grew up playing casual games so much, but it was kind of like Melee spoiled me, because like I have competed in this for such a long time, and it's just like such a game where you can express yourself so well. I could also see this being like speedrunners can probably relate to this as well. Like once you have found your speedrun game, it can be a bit harder to go back to casual gaming. But today I actually did get to play for a few hours. It was pretty fun. I'm a huge fan of the Phoenix Wright series. And they made a spin-off series, Miles Edgeworth, the investigation series. And I think it was like 2 years ago I played the second one in the series. It's only a fan translation because it was never released in like the Western world. And it was like some glitch when I was playing it, so it always kept freezing on the same case at the same spot. So I just gave up and never kept playing it. But today I was like, all right, I really want to do it. So then me and Android, we figured out how to like fix it. So he helped me set that up, and yeah, today I played for a few hours, which was fun. It was quite a while ago since I had a long casual gaming session just for myself.
What kind of game is it? Because I'm not familiar with it.
Phoenix Wright, it's you are a defense lawyer, and then you have a client that normally are innocent, and it's your duty to prove them innocent in court. So it's kind of like reading a book, but you are the one that take like action.
It sounds fun. It sounds interactive and cool.
Yeah, it's really cool storyline. The music, like when you destroy someone in court, when you're about to fuck them up, and the music, like, when you destroy them, it's just so fitting. Like you get pumped up. It's amazing.
Right.
Yeah, the animation in that game is solid. The whole aesthetic is on point.
I really recommend those games for the people that haven't played it. The Investigation series is slightly different, but it's a lot of similarities still.
It sounds fun.
Following up on that, casual gaming, in terms of streaming, I mean, okay, you don't really get that much opportunity to stream, it seems. Like you're finally getting back to your streaming now that you're in Sweden. Do you have an interest in taking on full-time streaming, or do you think for the short term you're going to be still mainly Melee, traveling around, like mainly, competitive gaming driven?
Yeah, no, that's my main priority. Like, I do want to get more time to stream different games, less focus on Melee. But the thing is, at the end of the day, I know that if I take time or days off, then that's days I'm not getting back. And I have this huge thing that if I don't practice for a while, it's almost like I feel like I have to, because I know if I don't, someone else do. And then I have to catch up with that work later on. So I have a hard time, even during like smaller off seasons, I have a hard time to take it easy, because I know that a next tournament is coming up like in a few weeks or like in a month. So I will try to get better at that though, because I would like to play some Switch games now when I'm back home for a while. I did some Odyssey runs on my stream like 3-4 months ago before I got too busy with all the traveling, which was very fun. And I also want to try out Celeste on my stream. I've only played it for like 25-30 minutes, but it was a good experience.
Great game. I recommend. I also started speedrunning that game about a week and a half ago.
I checked your stream, dude. I saw you play it.
Yeah. It's a very intense but beautifully made game. And in terms of speedrunning, it's the easiest game I've ever played. In terms of speedrunning, it's you play the game and the second try, it just makes sense, because the game was made for speedrunning. It was made by devs who wanted it to be speedrun. So you play through the game and you just see the strats like in front of you, like, wow, this makes sense. I'll just do this. This is faster. But it's so cool. I love the game because of that. Easy to get into.
That's awesome.
But yeah, talking about that, what do you think about? Well, you just said the games that you're looking to speedrun, but I'm actually interested in the idea of like comparisons and differences between Melee and speedrunning kind of thing. Do you think you have enough experiences in speedrunning to really tell if there are like a lot of comparisons between the two, between competitive Melee and like competitive speedrunning, in terms of maybe mindsets and stuff like that?
I do have some experience with speedrunning, not that much. I have a few cases. I think it was like back in 2009. I did play Mario 64 16 star. I think I got a time. I might be off here because it was like a long time ago, but I think it was like around 21 minutes.
Okay.
Which sucks now, but back then it wasn't as bad. Then me and a friend of mine, we played Galaxy Man and Mega Man 9. It was a very short speedrun, of course, because only one stage, but we enjoyed it. And we both ended up top 5 in the world. And then I played Target Test in Melee. But that's also like, really like quick stages.
Right.
And then I did play some Double Dash back in the day as well for these Nintendo Championships, since Mario Kart was often like a reoccurring game. So I did practice Double Dash quite a bit.
Right.
But
it's a fun game.
I do think it's Double Dash is amazing. It's really, really good game. One of my favorites to the GameCube for sure. But yeah, I do think speedrunning and Smash, have quite a lot of similarities. It's like a lot about mastering movement and execution. Mario 64, one of the games I do watch the most, and I normally, I could be wrong, but I normally refer to it like the melee of speedrunning, because it looks like all the tricks and execution is like, it's really, really important. Like, even for someone like me that don't even play the game, I can clearly tell like the difference in execution from like the very best runners to the ones that are like one or maybe two levels below. Like, you can really see that crispy movement that like over a course of the run adds up like quite a lot of time.
Yeah, it's no, you're right, and people have been saying the same thing about Celeste. Actually, as we mentioned it, Celeste it's a complete rewarding game when it comes to that. You could tell the difference between that person who's just a little bit more optimized. That makes such a big difference compared to like the person who's in second place or whatever.
Yeah, no, that's one thing I really love with speedrunning. It's really cool. And another thing I also feel like is very similar with speedrunning and with Smash. I feel like the end of a run, especially when you have like a bit of longer categories, like maybe 120 star in Mario 64, that's kind of like the game 5s in Melee. Game 5, last stock. Yeah. You need those Bowser throws. You just like, for me personally, I'm trying to not think too much. Just be like, you know, be in the present. I don't try to think about the future, like, oh, what if I land this throw, or what happens if I miss. You just try to have like a blank state of mind. But mentality, I feel like, is so different for everyone. So what's right for me might not necessarily be right for you, and vice versa.
That's interesting. Actually, I think you're the first person who has said that. Whoa, my webcam is totally blurry. What's going on? Usually, always people say, "Oh no, this is the right mentality. You need to have this mindset. You need to do this and this time." But you're just like, nah, screw that. Everyone has their own way of thinking. Which, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I could agree with that.
Yeah, I kind of see, like, you know, when if people studied in school, right? For example, some people have ways that makes it easier for them to remember everything.
Yeah.
But just because I feel like, oh, that's good for you, that might not be good for me. So I personally do not think it's one right way to have a mentality. Everyone needs to find their own one. So if you will ask me about mentality, I can say that this is how I do it, but I always encourage them to test something else as well, unless they feel like it really, really clicks.
Yeah, dude. That's a good way of thinking.
That brings up an interesting point of like, do you feel like the same thing carries over to practice? Like, I feel like I see people practice differently for speedrunning. Do you see different types of practice in Melee?
Yeah, you do see very different practice in Melee as well. I'll say like one thing how do you say, like, sometimes you might give the vision of silly practice or stupid practice, but it's like, I feel like a lot of people that do practice Melee, they don't have a goal. They don't have like, how do you say, a meaning or a purpose behind the practice. Because I feel like a lot of Melee, when it comes to like neutral exchanges, you can kind of look at it like a complicated rock, paper, scissors. And most people in Melee, they have like one or two options that they spam a lot in neutral game. So they don't understand that these options don't cover like the whole picture. So like a lot of people, for example, if they play Falco and they love to short hop in with nair or down air, and they get dash dance grabbed. And they get dash dance grabbed for 5 years straight without asking themselves, why do I get grabbed?
Yeah.
And then I tell them like, oh, but you can short up and do a laser that destroys the dash back and you won't get grabbed. And they're like, oh, I've never thought about that. But the thing is, if you have not been thinking about that in 5 years, then you're objectively doing something wrong, because you're losing to the same thing for 5 years and you still don't know what you're doing wrong. And in speedrunning, I feel like some people do this wrong as well. And I would say the equivalent is doing, like, if we again go back to Mario 64, I feel like people that do 120 star runs every single day, even if they're really bad at the game, and they never like practice like shorter segments. Like I've seen some players, I'm not going to mention any names, that do runs, and they have not impressive times, and they don't really get better, even though they spend an absurd amount of time playing. And I even told some of these people, like, just shorter segments. Like, I know I'm not like an expert on this game, but I can't imagine your practice routine being good long term. And the funny thing is that Siglemic actually showed up in one of these chats once, and he was like, "Yeah, I told this guy the same thing, but he won't listen. So give up."
Yeah. It's funny because wow. Okay, so there's so much things to talk about in this topic. But yeah, I mean, you're right. But another thing is that when you see these people stream, okay, what if they just stream runs, but they're actually practicing a lot of what you just said off stream? So
then I would say it's good because then at least they're aware that they should.
Right. I actually think that might be worse I think that might actually be more of a problem, because that means that you're doing the right thing, but there's no results. So it's like, shit, what else do you do?
Oh, yeah, you mean like that? Okay. Yeah, I was thinking more that if they do practice off stream, but then they actually do improve on stream. But if they still don't improve on stream, yeah, then
that's a problem.
If you don't improve while being not so good, then you're obviously doing something wrong.
Right.
Gotta go to the drawing board.
But like you mentioned, because okay, you mentioned about the guy who does like a short hop into down air or whatever near as a neutral, and then gets dash dance grab all the time, right? That is something that I am like. I think I'm like that person, and I think that's why I've never been good at fighting games. I feel like I'm one of those people that would do that for years, and I would never ask myself the question, wait, why am I getting grabbed? Why this? But when it comes to speedrunning, I do have the right mindset. It's like opposites. So I'm able to see that one thing I need to improve in speedrunning and grind it out, and I know exactly, I'm able to read the game and how it works quickly to be able to improve in that. But in a game like Melee or fighting games, I just can't seem to grasp what I need to ask myself to be able to improve. So it's like the opposite for me.
Yeah, no, I can see that. And that's also, I feel like the one example I pinpointed with Smash, it's like, to be fair, one of the core differences between Smash and speedrunning, because the thing with like doing the same option in neutral in Smash, then you're playing as another human being. But in a speedrunning game, then it's more like the right answer is always the right answer.
Right.
A good option in Melee might not always be the good option, since you're actually fighting as another human being.
Exactly.
So I feel like that's one of the like main differences. And I don't necessarily think every speedrunner will be good at Smash, and not every Smasher will be good at speedrunning. No. But I think the crossover could happen for sure. But it is two different mindsets and two different mentalities, and two different kind of skills, even though some skill overlap.
It's like what you mentioned, that I'm able to see that one thing that would work every time, and I guess speedrunning is about taking that one thing, but like knowing how to optimize it to an insane level. But I honestly think Melee players would benefit from that, where how you said, like, Melee players would go into practice not having a specific goal but just practicing. I feel like Melee players, if they did go in practice with that specific goal, today I'm gonna make sure and learn this specific thing and try to master this, I think that could be beneficial. I don't know if
I totally agree. Sadly, that kind of practice have had a kind of bad stigma in our community. I personally hate it, and I've tried to fight it, maybe because I'm one of these nerdy players that do grind these things that might not be like, how do you say, like, as cool or whatever. Because I do think solo practice in Melee can be really beneficial, and solo practice is probably one of the more similar practice routines Melee player can have to a speedrunner, because then you remove the human aspect of fighting against someone. It's more grinding, like, very specific things, as you talked about. But yeah, sadly, nerdy stuff have had like a bad stigma in our community, like being too try hard and stuff like that. But I think it's getting better. I think it's getting better in our community. It used to be way worse.
Okay,
that's good. Following up on that, so there's your methods of practice for Melee or like fighting games, and practice for speedrunning. And something that I tell a lot of people who speedrun and they aren't really improving is to just put your gameplay up against someone else's that's better and see like how you're losing time. And I was going through your YouTube and I noticed that you have a lot of, and I also see a lot of other top Melee players do this, is they'll watch back their matches, you know, typically loses, and kind of look at it and analyze it. Do you think that's something that's pretty important to do in Melee?
Yes. I would say the course of analyzing in Melee, it changes a bit over skill level. I would say for a player that is not like very good or mid-level, or even up to pretty high level, I would say it's practically 100% about studying only your own flaws, your own mistakes, and what you can do better. But then at the very top level, once you're maybe like top 10 in the world, it becomes, of course, you still need to like analyzing your own flaws and all of that too. But I think the new dimension to it all is that you need to analyze the player versus player matchup. Like if I play against, let's say, Mango's Fox or Levin's Fox, that's two really different foxes. So for me, it's a lot about pinpointing what makes Levin's Fox and Mango's Fox unique. So even though on paper, oh, I'm playing the same matchup, I really am not. Right. But if you're at like a mid-level, you can't really focus on analyzing 100 or 200 different players for their weaknesses and strengths. Then it's more about finding like ways for you to become a better player until you get to the top 10. But then once you are top 10, then you can also start focusing more on specific player matchups, their weaknesses, and how you're going to expose them for it.
Right. So you think it's important to forget about what character they're playing, but the actual player themselves is the matchup you have to study.
Yeah, pretty much. Because like it's also fighting against like top level players, it's kind of like fighting against yourself in one way, because I know that these players, they do analyze me as well, and how I am as a person, that reflects my play. I think your personality, like if I watch a game, like let's pretend tomorrow an amazing Melee player comes around that no one have ever heard about, and he's like at the level of top 10. Just by looking at his play, I'm pretty sure I can pinpoint a lot of that person as like a human being just by looking at how he plays.
Really?
And yeah, it's really interesting, because when I see people like Mango or Mewtwo King or Levin, how they play the game, it reflects so much of how I look at them as human beings, how they interact as human beings, how they look at like life, and so on. It's really interesting, and it's a very cool thing with fighting games at the very least.
That's crazy. I can't even imagine that.
So is that something you've done as long as you've been playing? Like you've always watched back your losses and kind of taken notes?
I think I started doing it in actually the first time I did study my own matches really was in 2011 before Genesis 2, because I lost quite a few super majors before this, and I was tired of losing. And then I was like, I should just go over my matches and look at what my opponent do wrong and then punish them for it. So I was pretty late into the whole analyzing thing. I feel like Melee, like the old school era of Melee, it was people didn't play as much because esport wasn't like as big. Tournaments was way more rare. They didn't happen as frequently. These days, I think it's more mandatory to do it. Back in the day, you could scrap by not doing as much work. Like the hardest working person back in the day, if he played as much nowadays, he would not even be like top 100 of playing the most. It's just like, yeah, it's just how it is. Like imagine like Mario 64 probably back in like the early days of like Seglemic and stuff, or like even before Seglemic, I could see that being like less, like at least not as efficient practice or good practice as top runners when it was at its peak, you know? Now I know some of the top players don't play as much. Looking at you guys. I hope to see you guys play more soon. I love to watch Mario 64.
I mean, I have been playing a lot. It's just you're probably asleep because I stream really late these days.
Yeah, it's true. I see you sometimes. To be fair, I actually haven't been on Twitch that much in the past month or so by traveling, but sometimes I see you live.
Okay.
What's up, Punke? And for people asking questions in chat, we do plan on having a Q&A at the end, so you can get your questions answered then.
I think it's time to talk a little bit about Smash Ultimate.
Yes, I
what
agree.
do you, you know, in its current state, as of when you got to play it, what are your thoughts on it?
For me personally, I felt like Ultimate when I got to play it at the Invitational, which was 2 months ago. So some stuff might have changed. I haven't been keeping track too much with like these new videos that gets out every now and then. But back then, at least, I would say it felt like an improved Smash 4. It was a bit faster. Combos felt like it was going to be a bit more doable. Edge guarding, like when you knock someone off stage and want to make sure they don't come back to the stage again, felt a bit more doable. So it feels like it's a step in the right direction. I just hope that the producers of the game listened to the feedback myself and the rest of the competitors gave them. Most of the competitors seem to have been on like kind of the same page in most regards. So I'm hoping they listen because I feel like if they do, it could be really interesting. Really interesting. I got to play Pokemon Trainer a bit. I really like that character. And I feel like if they add a little bit more of hit stun and they remove what people call the balloon effect when you hit someone.
They go flying and then stop. And
Yeah.
But I feel like if they remove that, like, or at least reduce it by a lot and increase hit stun, I feel like Pokemon Trainer could kind of be like a Marvel character. Like in Marvel, when you have 3 characters and you send someone else in to take over the combo.
And there's like a 10-minute long combo.
Yeah, but in Ultimate it would be like a fast combos with like Squirtle, Ivysaur, Charizard. I feel like the potential for that could be really crazy if they do these 2 changes. Right. So a really unique character.
Because that balloon effect kind of ruins the combo feel, I guess, or opportunity.
Wait, one more time. What did you say?
Because the balloon effect kind of would ruin the combo opportunity.
Yes, that's why I really hope they change it. Some people said it looked like they changed it in one of the newer videos, but I haven't really gotten the chance to watch it. But I hope that's the case.
Did you get a chance to talk with the other players and get together and like talk about exactly what you'd like to see change, or did you guys just send your individual? Because I know you sent like an email or something like that to someone. Is that the case?
Yes, I did get to talk with most of the people, not all of the players, but most of the people. And the melee group of the invited players all seem to be like on the same page regarding everything. And even the Smash 4 players, at most of the things that we wanted to see changed, they agreed about a lot of things as well. Maybe not all of it, or maybe not to as big of an extent, but it seemed overall like most of the things people did agree on. So yeah, all we can do now is wait and see. But I do know that I will stream the game a lot when it comes out.
Sick.
Sweet. Have they reached back out to you at all, or did you just send it and that's pretty much it?
They have not gotten back to me, but I do know that the information was, provided to like the higher ups.
Oh, sweet.
Cool.
So when it comes out, you'll be going pretty hard. Do you imagine that you'll put Melee on the back burner, or is it a little too early to tell right now?
I have a hard time seeing myself play Ultimate, as a tournament player long term. But when the game comes out, I do know that I really want to test out the game and stream it a lot, YouTube a lot, and just like break the game down, like see what can you actually do in this game. Because I do know, and it's probably partly fair, like the Melee community is pretty stubborn with their game. We really love Melee, but not all Melee players. Like most Melee players do test the new Smash games. Some people are just very bad at like expressing themselves, or they go too far, or they think it's cool to be like trashing on other games. But a lot of Melee players do give new games a chance. And I did compete in Brawl for a while. I did compete in PM. I did compete in Smash 4. And I know that I will enter some tournaments in Ultimate at the very least. So I'm excited to test it out once the game comes out.
That'd be cool. Do you have anything you want to add on that, on Smash Ultimate topic, Cheese?
About Smash Ultimate? Not really. I think we got covered about stuff about Smash 5. I remember that. I mean, I hope it's better. Yeah, I so far it looks like it's on a better start, I guess, than maybe Smash 4. Because in my personal experience, I bought Smash 4. I played it for half an hour and never played it again. It's not because I just didn't have fun. I just didn't. It wasn't appealing to me. I guess.
No, I can understand. I can totally understand. I personally think right now, though, that the version we got to play at the Invitational is already better than Smash 4.
Okay.
The Smash 4 version at the Smash 4 Invitational was actually among the biggest disappointments ever. And I also played Brawl, which was a disappointment as a melee player. But Smash 4, I don't know, it didn't appeal to me at all. But I think Ultimate already at the Invitational was quite a bit better than Smash 4. So if they improve it as much from the Invitational to the release date as they did with Smash 4, I think that could be very promising.
Right. No, but no, I'm not trying to make Smash 4 look bad at all. But that was just my personal experience. But again, I even think
we all have different taste in games.
Exactly. I think because I've never been into fighting games, but it's something about Melee and Smash in general, but mostly Melee, because that's what I was introduced to, that I just love about it. I love watching it. I love being part of it. But all of the fighting games I couldn't give a damn about. But I love watching Melee a lot.
Melee is the god game. It's too good. It's too good. Cool. Well, switching gears, I guess, back to speedrunning, you did do some Super Mario Odyssey, and you said you wanted to get back into that. Are you going to have a chance to do that now that you're back home, have a little bit of breathing time?
Yeah, I'm going to be home for 5-ish weeks. So I'm trying to aim to do some Odyssey runs starting early/mid next week.
Oh, sweet.
Probably have to de-rust a little bit, but to be fair, I didn't play that many times, so I can't imagine it taking more than a day or two for me to be back to PB chances, because I only streamed the game I think 7 streams. But it was fun, and I felt like I was improving.
Oh, what's your PB right now?
I think my last one was at 113. 113.50 something.
I mean, that sounds really, really good for playing that long. But when you did start playing, did you learn any percent right away? Did you watch tutorials, or did you just kind of make
I look at the world record, and my plan was to try to copy all the things I could copy, and the things I couldn't, I would look up the second or third best strategy.
That's exactly what I did when I learned Mario and Ocarina of Time. This is what I say to most people.
Because I feel like just learning the really bad strats, I kind of felt like I'm just gonna waste time, because I'll have to throw away all these strats incredibly fast.
Yeah.
Because I know when I played Target Test in Melee, and they had these guides beginner strats, medium strats, hard, and very hard, and everyone said you start with the easiest strat. And after I did 5 or 6 characters, I'm like, no, this will be just a waste of time. So I went as hard as I could, and if I couldn't do the hardest, then I did the second hardest, and then I tried to aim to at least be able to finish all the characters with that strategy, even if it wasn't too fast. So that was kind of my mentality going into Odyssey. Look at the world record, try to mimic as much as I can, and the things I can't, well, then I'll try to add something a bit slower.
That's how you do it.
I looked at a lot of Nick Ravita and Shaden. That was the top runners when I was watching back then.
Yep.
Go ahead, Cheese.
No, go ahead. I wasn't gonna say anything.
So, what did you think of in terms of picking it up? Did you have to reach out to any of the members for explanations on how things worked, or was it pretty straightforward? Were you able to figure it out?
Most of the things was pretty straightforward. But a few things I did ask. I did ask other community members in like the Discord, or I asked Nicarita about a few things as well. And it was kind showing it on the stream. I remember I didn't know how the scooter clip worked in the Metro world or Metro Kingdom. So he showed it on stream, and I was like, all right. And then I could do it not nearly as fast, but I learned it like after that. So, but yeah, I think Odyssey, I feel like it's a very easy game to pick up. But to be a top runner, as with most games, it does take a lot of time and practice.
Of course,
Definitely.
yeah.
But it looks much easier to pick up than Mario 64 or Sunshine, for example. So I could see it as being a good, if you haven't speedrun anything before, it's probably a good game to start off with.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. And that's kind of the consensus I've heard. I think that's part of why it's so popular still, is it's just easy to pick up, and it's also a solid speed game. Like, Galaxy came out, and there's Galaxy speedruns, but none of the new Marios have stuck quite like this one. So it'll be interesting to see how far they'll take it down. It just keeps going.
I'll say it. Sub 1 hour will happen.
I know, that's what I've been saying.
Since the start.
Of course it would. I mean, the game is not even a year old, but a lot of people, there's been, not, I wouldn't say controversy, but just a lot of conversation that because the way Odyssey is in terms of being a modern game and not much room for like huge groundbreaking glitches to be implemented, that they're not sure how much the time could actually be brought down. And it seems to be, it might be a little bit more optimized than people think, but we'll see how it goes.
No, I think that's a fair theory to have. A lot of the older games are incredibly broken.
Yeah.
But like, it's less than 1.5 minutes left, and I'll be very surprised if that 1.5 minutes can never be taken off.
Right. No, of course.
I feel like it's a huge thing with humanity overall. Like, if you apply it to speedrunning, like when people get good runs and people are like, this time will never be beaten, like 145 and Mario 64, like, oh, 144 will never happen. 143 will never happen. And you see that in all games pretty much.
Yeah.
And then if you go outside of speedrunning, it's like, if you go to sports, like, oh, this record will never be broken. I think most people have a hard time to grasp how far things can actually be pushed once you have the right person that it's his life mission to get this done.
Right.
If it is, then it normally happens one way or another.
Yeah, somebody in chat bringing up the sub 2 hour marathon. I'm pretty sure they're seconds away from that. 26.5 miles in sub 2 hours. God dang.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. No, I on my flight recently, I saw a sports program when they were talking about some of the records, and I think that one was actually in that short documentary as well.
That's pretty good.
A documentary on world records?
Yeah, it's like for long jumps, for example, like when or if it's like 9 meters, it's gonna be broken, and then this distance in like less than 2 hours. There's quite a few different records.
Did they have the 120-star world record on it?
Wait, what did you say?
Did they have the 120-star world record on the video?
Sadly not. I will send in the feedback, and hopefully my next flight I can watch it.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Cool. Well,
somebody's doing a good job with all these world record progression videos.
Oh, they're so good. Like, every single one I watch, I'm like, 30 minutes. Am I really going to watch a 30-minute video? And I'm like...
And then you do.
Yeah. I'm watching this video.
Yeah.
They're solid. That Mario Kart one was legendary. I don't know if you caught that one.
Oh, no. I've seen every single one, I think, since he started doing them. Even for games I've never played, I still watch it.
Nice.
Yeah, shout-outs to Summoning Salt. If you guys have not seen Summoning Salt's videos, you just Google him. He has got some really good stuff.
A few other people are following in his footsteps as well, like Average Trey for SMS. He did an 80% progression video, and now he's doing a 120 shine, apparently. That would be even more interesting, I think.
It'd be dope.
Yeah, no, I saw that video as well. I didn't know about that video for a while, but then a friend recommended it. So I saw that. And then it was some Paper Mario Down Your Door video as well from someone else, I think. Also a world record progression video.
Mm.
It's just really interesting to hear like the history behind the games, how people were finding all these tricks, how new records that people previously thought was impossible wasn't. It's really interesting. I love speedrunning.
Yeah, it's like a whole nother dimension of like the entertainment side of speedrunning, because it's not like they're breaking records or anything. They're just talking about it, and I feel like you can take that so far. Like for individual strat in Mario 64, for example, I'm sure there's some kind of story. That's something I've thought about investigating a little bit, but yeah. Well, I
mean, there is for sure.
Oh yeah,
there are plenty of stories, but
well, I think we covered pretty good ground. What do you think, Cheese?
Pretty good. There was one thing I was, I guess, an off-topic question, but I think it's pretty interesting about you being a top player in Melee. Do you ever feel, I guess, pressured by your fans, by the community? You feel like you need to keep up this status of being one of the best players, and you sometimes get nervous. You feel like you're not doing enough to keep up that kind of status. Do you feel pressured at all?
Sometimes. I normally have the mentality that no one can put as much pressure on me as I do on myself, because I put myself on, like, I have very high standards for myself. I don't accept you know, lazy work or stuff like that. So even if I feel like I don't want to play at times, I still push myself, because I know that this term is coming up, and if I just push now, I can take it easier for a little bit after, you know. So, but yeah, no, sometimes I feel pressured, and I had this long streak of not losing to players not in the top 6, and at times that the pressure people gave me from that got to me sometimes. So it was more like I almost felt that I was playing more not to lose than to win, which is a very unhealthy mindset to have as a competitor. It's just like downward spiral where things gets worse because you focus on the wrong things.
I guess it's kind of like looking at the glass half empty and not half full.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay.
So you mentioned, that actually brought up another question I had. You mentioned like how in 2011, 2012, you kind of were losing drive just because of the lack of a scene in Sweden, and also like the size of things weren't quite where it is at now. Is your motivation like really strong these days, and how is the scene in Sweden like?
The scene is kind of strong, or I would say the local scenes in Sweden. A lot of the local scenes are strong. Like weeklies happens pretty often in a lot of major cities in Sweden. But major tournaments, that's really, really weak at the moment. We don't have too many big events that attract, like, you know, all of Europe or even all of Sweden. I know some people are trying to work on it to hopefully get better. And then for my motivation, I came back to Mill again in 2014, and I got more and more motivated. But since last summer, my motivation has been really low, and I'm trying to like find a drive again, but it's hard. It's a long battle I've had, and it's like it feels like back to the point where I did quit playing the game for a year. I don't want that to happen, but some days it feels really, really rough, if I'm going to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, for singles at least. Teams, I love teams. I will probably never stop playing melee teams. But that's singles at times is really rough.
No, like someone said in chat, you can't force motivation. I think that's rooted in the definition of motivation. It comes from within. You can't force it. For sure.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I'll probably say that a better way to probably be try to ignore it and then hope that you wake up and one day it's just there, you know? But even then, you can't really do that. It gotta come from the inside. I do agree with that. It's just hard because, like, it's also at the same time, it's my work at the moment as well. So if I go to tournaments, then this is what I'm paid to do. So... But I'll take a break now from going to tournaments. I'll probably go to like Big House or something next, and yeah, we'll see. But I don't look at it long term too much. I look at it more one trip at a time, and we'll see what happens.
That's a good way to do it. Then it's not like overwhelming.
Yeah, for sure.
So, okay, follow-up question on that. So these days, like, do you try to, like, what's your training regime like? Do you try to get like an hour in a day? Do you have specific things you want to work on?
It's like, I don't really have very set schedules, but I do try to get people to come over to play at least like 3-4 times a week. And then sometimes I play alone as well. But that's honestly more of just a way to like hang out with chat and have like a chill stream.
Yeah.
But I have some players here in Gothenburg that are kind of reliable, and then a few that are very reliable on coming over. So I try to do that whenever possible. That's a good way to like get the hours in when you have someone else to play against.
Definitely.
Okay. On the topic of streaming, do you see yourself? I mean, I don't know if you could already call yourself that, but do you see yourself being a full-time streamer?
That's what I want to do when I'm done competing in Smash. Then I want to do a full-time streamer, and you stream like a bunch of like random games.
Okay.
So that's something I see myself doing in the future for sure.
Sweet.
It's not like Smash would die entirely. It would still be like a reoccurring theme on the stream, but it wouldn't be like Smash is like 90% of the streams. It would be more like, you know, every now and then, because that would still be the game I'm known for. But it would be fun to just test new games, because I know that even though my interest for casual gaming isn't as high as it used to be, I still know the games out there exist that I will love, and it would be fun to share that with all the viewers, you know, out there, and also get more into speedrunning. I think that's going to be a fairly big part of my stream in the future as well. Once I don't compete, to just like pick like a game that I want to be like at least top 10 in. I could see myself do that.
That'd be fun.
Sweet. That's awesome.
So watch out, guys. Watch out.
Yeah, I gotta keep it close.
Not playing.
Yeah. Keep commentating. Get the bits.
All right. Well, I think we're ready to dive into the Q&A section. You think so?
I feel pretty good about what we covered.
Cool.
So,
all right. Go ahead.
For the Q&A, these past couple of streams, we've actually been doing most of it through the chat, but a lot of questions just kind of get swallowed and eaten up. So what I will ask you guys to do is join the Two Dads podcast Discord from this command and post your questions in the questions channel. That way we can put it in one spot. We don't really have to scroll back up in chat, etc. And right away we got a question from Rubber Ducky Assassin. What do you think of Smash Bros. Speedrunning?
Smash Bros. Speedrunning. I would say it's like a smaller section of like the entire Smash picture. It's not obviously as popular as like singles or teams and whatnot, but I still think it can be pretty interesting. As we talked a little bit about earlier, I did break the targets myself back in the day. Demon 9, pretty famous Zelda runner. He also used to play it back in the day. I know Fussiness is doing some speed runs as well. So it is a community for it, but it's more like it's a small one. And I don't personally watch it too much, but Target Test I always found pretty cool, at least.
Yeah, those are pretty fun to watch. I liked watching the compilations of the world records.
Yeah, no, those are sick.
There's so many dope routes. What speed games are you considering in the future?
Right now, I'll probably say Mario 64, Odyssey, and Celeste.
Oh, the top 3 speed games.
Hey.
Literally.
Good picks.
Yeah, it could change in the future, because let's say I do this for like quite a bit longer, then maybe other games catch my interest. But right now, I'll probably say these 3. I like Sunshine to watch it. I never really liked it as a casual gamer, but I personally don't think I would pick it up as a speedrun game. I think I will just enjoy watching it more.
This was already kind of answered, but you can go over it again. Are you trying to compete in Smash Ultimate?
I will do tournaments early on, as I did with Smash 4 and Brawl. How long I go depends on how much I actually like the game and how my motivation for melee singles at the time is. So I can't give like a clear-cut answer, but I can promise at the very least a few tournaments, and then we'll see from there.
Cool. What do you think of Bizarro Flame?
Easy money. No, but he's a cool guy. He's a cool guy. I like Bizarro Flame, and it's like you can really see at him when he's playing that he's having a blast, which is really important. At the end of the day, even if you're a competitor or a speedrunner, it's like we all got into the game because we love it, and I think he's a good example of like remembering. Like he made people remembering in times when they might have forgot it.
Good stuff. What are your thoughts on other fighting games?
On other fighting games? I do watch Street Fighter occasionally. I think that's pretty fun to watch. I also think you can learn things from other fighting games as well, and it's interesting to see how they approach their games as well. But yeah, Street Fighter I do watch sometimes. I know at the after party at Evo, since Street Fighter was running a bit late, we were having drinks and he's watching the grand finals. Let's go Europe. But yeah, no, that's the fighting game I watched the most outside of Smash. And then many years ago, some of my friends tried to get me into Guilty Gear, which was fun. But I obviously decided to focus on Smash because I did not really feel for dividing my time between two different games. But yeah, this was back in like 2010 or something, and I played Mila for the people that might watch Guilty Gear.
Awesome stuff. Thank you,
Speedrun, for the host for 69 viewers.
1,000 viewers.
1,000. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for your
Welcome
box.
to the fridge stream. Thank you so much, Speedrun. Desert wants to know if you'll play Daisy in Smash Ultimate. I don't know if it's a mean question, but
it is. People know that I hate Daisy. I hate Daisy.
Do you?
Yeah, I might go through Ultimate without ever playing her a single game. Okay, wow. Actually, but no.
What is bad about her?
Like her skin in Melee is so bad. And I play Peach. I don't want Daisy.
Right.
Like Peach is my girl in that game.
Oh man, good stuff. Oh my God, there's so many Daisy questions.
Yeah, here they come.
I told you. Once the meme starts, you can't stop them.
That's pretty much how it goes. We learned that with the PPMD.
Okay.
I can imagine that. I got to watch a tiny bit. I have to watch the entire episode at some point.
Searching every nook and cranny for Kevin Nanny. We finally found him. Thoughts on seeding after Super Smash Con?
Ooh, that's a really hard one actually. I feel like me, HBox, and Leffen all could debatably be in top 3 in like any order. I might be biased, but I don't know. Actually, it's really hard to say, but I feel like the 3 of us could be in any order. I'll put Plop as 4th seed, Mewtwo King is 5th seed, Mango is 6th seed. Beyond that, I would have to look at the data. I haven't looked at the data enough. But yeah, top 3, incredibly debatable. I hope my run at Evo and SmashCon pushes me up to 1st seed. Because one thing that people have like a misconception of is like ranking for the year and seeding does not always go hand in hand. Seeding is more recent results, and a yearly rank is like everything for the year.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So seeding wise, I could see myself be anywhere between 1st and 3rd, and the same thing for HBox Leffen. So I guess that whoever is in charge of it, I gotta hope that his way of looking at it gives me the benefit of the doubt.
We'll put in a good word if we can.
Thank you.
Okay, who would you like to be added on to Smash Ultimate, like characters?
Ooh, I feel like it's so many characters that I even have a hard time to come up with like good characters. I know in Smash 4, I wanted Bowser Jr., Mega Man, and Bulbasaur. And I got Bowser Jr. and Mega Man. But in Ultimate, I actually don't really know. Maybe some old school Pokemon that is cool, like Gengar or something like that. I know these kind of things will never happen, but I have a hard time to come up with characters that I really wanna see, because they include everyone. It's like everyone is there.
It's going to be an insane, like, if this game ends up being really dope, then it's going to take a lot of studying, I imagine, to learn all the matchups, because I feel like they'll do a pretty good job of balancing.
Yeah, especially if they do patches. They actually did a good job with the patches in Smash 4. So, yeah, that will be a bunch of matchups to learn.
Yeah. 24-hour stream when? Rick Morin wants to know.
Rick Morin, my boy. Whenever Alliance stops screwing me over with Office. Nah, but it should be actually for real very soon now. I'm actually gonna go to the office on Sunday, because it's a negotiation period of time for my stay in Alliance in the future. So I'll go there on Sunday, and then I'll see if we can confirm that we can start moving stuff in. So I hope it's finally gonna, get there.
Good luck, dude. I tried that and I died. Literally. I didn't fall asleep, but 24 hours in, I had to lay down. It was awful.
I can't believe you didn't make it. 23 hours just to end it, man.
Dude, I felt sick, like to a point where if I didn't lay down, I was passing out.
Didn't your internet die as well at some of these like long streams?
Yeah, my internet died 12 hours into my first attempt at 24-hour stream.
Oh,
and
okay.
then I redid it, and then 23 hours in, I had to stop because I was like dying. I was feeling really sick all of a sudden. I had to stop. I'm not good at staying up for a while, so I couldn't do it. Never again. But it's worth it. You should do it.
Yeah, no, I will for sure. I think the longest I've streamed is like 13 or 14 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Only an additional 10 or 11 on top of that. But
it's surprisingly, yeah,
totally.
12 hours isn't bad, but you add like 12 more hours, and then you're really
it's a bomb.
in for a treat. It's a bomb.
So, a hard question. I don't know if it's answerable, but most important moment in Melee history?
I would probably say the release of the Smash documentary.
Oh,
I feel like the release of the Smash documentary, it gave so many more people an opportunity to see what our game and what our community is all about. I think Samox, the guy that made the documentary, he is the most important man in Melee history, pretty much. I think his importance is undervalued so much. And once the new documentary comes out, I heard he's going to set up a Patreon. I know I'll set up myself there for life. And I hope to see a lot of people also, if they can, of course, show some support as well, because he has done so much and put in so many hours into helping our game and tell our story, that I really do think he deserves support. And without him, like, I don't think our game would be nearly as big. Like, even here in my home city, where we had like no Smashers playing at all, like all these people started playing because they saw the documentary. I traveled to Australia in 2014, not too long after the documentary came out, and almost everyone I talked to said they started playing after the documentary came out because they watched it.
Yeah.
So he's a legend. He's a legend.
I didn't know there was a new one coming out. That's exciting.
Yeah, it might come out at the end of the year. We don't know for sure yet, but he has worked on it for like 4 years now, pretty much.
Wow.
I'm not surprised, because like there's an influx of people that come into my stream lately that tell me, hey, I came from Summoning Salt's Mario videos and stuff. It's like all these documentaries that have millions of views. Like, people come from that.
Yeah, definitely. No, I can imagine Summoning Salt is like, it doesn't surprise me at all. Actually, it makes sense, and it's cool to see.
Yep.
What would be your?
Go ahead.
What would be your reaction if Melee HD is announced in the future, Godzilla fan?
I would not believe it. I would think that someone is trying to pull a first April jokes very early. I would not believe it until I have it in my hands, and even then, I would probably still not believe it. The thing is, though, Melee HD, that's like risky water, you know, because if they actually would make a Melee HD, if they do make a lot of crucial changes that are like negative, the community would not want to play it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if they make a Melee HD that is basically the same version of the game, just like we can play it on a newer console, it gets more accessible, then that's perfect. But I feel like putting such important power in Nintendo's hands, I can't trust.
I guess a follow-up question to the most important moment in Melee history. I want to talk about like people mentioning in chat about the introduction of, or the inclusion, if that's a word, of Melee into Evo 2013 for the first time. How did Melee get into Evo 2013 really?
So the Evo 2013, basically what happened is that Evo always announced like a roster of games that are going to be featured at like the main stage at Evo.
Yeah.
And in 2013, they decided to have a donation drive for breast cancer. And the community that raised the most money for their game was going to be featured on, Evo, the Sunday, one of the Sunday slots.
Oh.
And the Melee community raised $94,000 roughly. We did get help from the brawl scene. We did get help from the speedrun community. Some very generous people. I know it was some guy that Muta King basically begged. Some really rich guy from Australia that was basically like, yeah, here, Melee, take 20K and don't bother me anymore.
Wow.
And those 20K was like the difference, because I think second place was like 15 or 16K behind.
Wow.
So yeah, no, we got a lot of help from a lot of other communities as well. Even though the Melee community probably had the biggest chunk of those 94, without the help of everyone else, we would not have made it there. And that's also a thing I think a lot of the newer players and viewers might not know. We thank you all for supporting us.
That's a great gasm.
Let's go.
Go ahead.
I actually have a question that I wanted to ask. So we didn't get to touch on it, but now I remember about competition or competitive speedrunning, pretty much in terms of like esports level, kind of like what Melee is doing with tournaments, live events, etc. What are your thoughts on speedrunning having the same thing, having their own live events, having their own tournaments with prize pools, etc.?
Honestly, I'm surprised that, unless I'm really ignorant at the topic, I'm surprised more haven't been done in that, because I feel like speedrunning could be taken to that level. Of course, like every community might have their own obstacles and like how to push these things forward, but I really think that it's an opportunity out there to do these things. And
so you're surprised it hasn't happened yet?
Wait, what were you saying?
You're surprised it hasn't happened yet?
Yeah, like that it's not more at the very least. Like I know that it's like speedrun races and stuff, but I feel like actual tournaments is like really rare. I know Simply had his tournament. I don't remember if it was like 16 or 32 players. But overall, like events, in-person tournaments, I feel like that never happens, or incredibly rare.
I don't think it has ever happened in speedrunning.
That would be a milestone.
It hasn't ever happened. But yeah, like Rox in chat mentioned, she actually asked this question about stuff like GSA. I think I mentioned GSA to you, the Global Speedrun Association that we've created. Where
yeah. Linda mentioned that.
Yeah, it's based. That's what the goal is. We're pushing speedrunning to that next level, and we're reaching esports companies and stuff for sponsorship, trying to show them, hey, this is what we have. Basically having like a league in speedrunning, where it's based off of divisions and point systems and all that stuff, for not just one game, obviously, but. I mean, I think it's about time, yeah, like you said,
Yeah, about time, and I feel like if the right people work on it, I think it's very, very possible as well. There's always these people that say that it's not possible. They don't do shit to actually contribute. But if you have the right people that have a vision and that actually work for it, I could totally see it happen. I don't think it's a mission impossible at all.
I was gonna ask a question.
It's like AGDQ, like the viewership is there. People love speedrunning.
I was gonna ask, because there's an argument in speedrunning where people say speedrunning is too nostalgic. It's too much of a hobby. People don't want it to reach to that esports level. But then you see the top 3 speed games, and Odyssey and Celeste are there, and they're brand new games. So you can't say, oh, it's nostalgia. There's obvious competition there, right? But what I wanted to ask too is that, do you think Melee was going through the same thing, especially around 2013 when when it was thought of being included into Evo? Do you think people were like, no, Melee could never reach there, it's just it's not possible? Do you think the same thing happened with Melee?
Yeah, very, very similar at the very least. It was like pretty much the same thing. People had like ideas of this is impossible, this can't be done. Melee, like you're never gonna be able to make a living. It's like everyone had these ideas of all the obstacles and everything that is impossible, instead of looking at the things that is possible and the things you can do better. Like, of course, one person can't do everything, but everyone can do something. And if you have a bunch of people that actually contribute, even by like a tiny, tiny bit, if you have all these people actually doing something favorable for the community, a lot of things can be achieved and would be achieved. So it's all about trying to get as many people that have this vision and idea to work for the same idea. And in the future, I think it will happen for the speedrunning community. It's hard to say if it will be a year from now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now, but I think it will happen. I think it will happen.
Oh, a year from now. Hopefully. But yeah, definitely. Do you have anything else to add on that simply, or?
No, I think that was pretty solid. Rox, the second part of this question though, what advice would you give to try to get speedrunning and speedrunners into a huge esport such as Melee got into 2013 Evo?
Wait, I'm not quite sure if I understood the question. Like speedrunning to get into like
like into the esports level, I guess, where esports companies are sponsoring speedrunning organizations to have tournaments and run their live events.
Yeah, like advice on that process.
Yeah. Do you have any tips that you think speedrunning community should be doing?
I think, like, of course, like, it's not going to change overnight. Like, the fact that no tournaments haven't been done, like, so the first step is obviously trying to create some sort of tournament, hopefully have them, like, at the very least, like, yearly, trying to spread it on a global basis, tournaments, spread them well, get speedrunners to promote the streams. Because, like, imagine if you have a tournament featuring, like, let's say, like, 4 or 5 of the, like, biggest speedrunning games, and then we'll have people like you guys, CFG, and so on to like host the streams and be very supportive of the idea, then you will spread the word very fast. I'm not sure how it is in the speedrunning community, but I feel like smashers, like Melee players at times, I wish top players did more, because I feel like even though Melee have reached a much higher point now than we used to, I feel like we could have been like 5 to 10 levels above if top players put in more effort into like growing the community and not only looking for their own needs. And especially in a smaller, like not necessarily smaller community, but in terms of like tournaments, then speedrunning is smaller. I think it's even more important to get the people that have a following to get behind this idea. That's how the quickest route to success, exactly. I think, if you ask me.
Naturally,
that's
yeah.
Solid. Thank you. Thoughts on Zane becoming a top 6 player?
Oh, very, very possible. It's I would say it's a higher chance that he does. If not top 6, then at least extending it to a top 7. He has improved incredibly fast. And I know I played with him at Summit for quite a bit, and I feel like sometimes if I tell people advice and stuff, they might not try to implement it as fast. But with Zane, it was basically like you told him one thing, and then like immediately. I was like, yeah, it makes sense that this guy got so good so fast. So no, he's on his way there, and he will be there. It's just a matter of time as well. Assuming he doesn't get unmotivated for whatever reason, but just looking at him like playing the game, and his like reactions even mid game, you can see that he's hungry.
Yeah. How was playing the match with Leffen at Evo? Was he playing better than normal? Ooh.
Leffen played fantastic at Evo. I don't know what happened in his first game against H-Boxing top 8, but after that he started to like, destruction mode. Leffen this year have been my demon. I feel like I have a new demon every year. Like I do good against everyone except for one person. In 2016, I lost a lot to Mango. Then in 2017, I lost a lot to HBox. And now this year, I lose a lot to Leffen. And then for me, on top of playing my hardest opponent this year, is also that I came from losers. I had so many matchups to prepare for. Like I knew I had to play S2J, so I warmed up Peach Falcon mainly because I knew for a fact that this set will happen. Then I knew that if I beat S2J, I fight the loser of Mango and Plup. So that means that Peach Falco and Fox Sheik is the two matchups I need to prepare for the second most. And then I made the judgment call. I thought that Plup was going to win. So I practiced slightly more Peach Falco than Fox Sheik. And then it was kind of like, like where I'm look at the probability of me playing against each player and then make some judgment calls along the way who I think will win or lose. And I thought Leffen was going to make it to Grant's winner side. It was my prediction he was going to beat HBox and then whoever won between Plup and Mango. So I actually didn't play any Fox Dittos that day because I think I had like 3.5 hours to warm up, which might sound like a lot, but I did have like 5 or 6 matchups to cover. And yeah, basically I did practice all the other matchups, which paid off. But against Leffen, it was not my set. But he also played so fucking good. So it's hard to beat a player of that caliber when they play like 9.5 out of 10. You gotta play 9.5 out of 10 as well, or you will get destroyed.
Good stuff, man. Well, we've reached the 1 hour. We reached 1.5 hour mark. If you see any other important questions you'd like to ask simply, or
let me look through, and you can feel free to check it out too, Armada, if there's any that peek out to you. But
a lot of meme questions.
Yeah, there is a lot of meme questions. For the sake of time, we'll go ahead and bop those. But one last one I think is worth asking from Dats Magic. What do you think of big esports organizations like Fnatic, Ninjas in Pajamas? Do you think they will invest in the Smash scene like other esports organizations do?
Maybe. The thing is, a big disadvantage with Melee, the top players might not think it's a disadvantage because it favors us. But one big disadvantage that we do have, if you look at the bigger picture, is that Melee is almost at the point where it's too consistent. Like as a top player, it feels good that it's not a very high variance compared to a lot of other games. But for esport organizations, they want someone that can win tournaments. They want someone that is featured in top 8s often, on top of like a huge stream, a huge social media following. But the tournament aspect is hard to get because we have such consistent top players that it's hard for these other players that is not like in the top 6 to get these slots often. If you compare it to a game like Street Fighter, you can see like one top 8 with 8 players, and then the next top 8 is practically 8 different players. That simply doesn't happen in Melee. So I could see that being a big drawback for Melee in terms of getting more teams to pick up players. But I also feel like our players can do more to promote themselves and work on their streams and YouTube. YouTube has actually been really weak for the Melee scene. So I think more could be done, but that's a hurdle or problem we do have that is hard to overcome. But I feel like for every year, Melee looks more and more inconsistent. That's what it looks like in terms of results. It's still really consistent, but more players are able to push the top 6 than pretty much ever before, I would say.
Solid.
There was actually one more question that I saw that was really interesting. Did you see that? It's from Armac.
Oh.
Which character in Melee has gone under the wildest change in meta / play style over the years?
That's hard. Probably a character like Yoshi. I feel like Yoshi at the very like one of the last characters that was like seen from being pretty bad to actually be able to compete with top 10 level players. So maybe it isn't the craziest in some ways, but I feel like at the very least it was a character that was discovered later than a lot of the other characters around that level. So I think Yoshi at least have an argument for it. But then also, I think a lot of players that's played Melee, even at the very high level in like 2006, 7, and so on, if they come back now, I think Spaceys will be like really weird for them to play against just because the game is so fast. Like in Europe, we've had some of these top players come back and enter tournaments once in a while, and they normally do fine against characters like Sheik, Marth, even though they're amazing because it's not as fast-paced, but Falco especially just like a fucking train running at them, and they have no idea how to stop the train or dodge the train.
That's how I feel every time I played against Falco and Melee. I didn't know how to not get hit by a laser or something. I don't know what to do.
It's rough, man. Like one example I'm thinking about is with Apex 2012, I think it was. And Captain Jack, he was like one of the best players back in the day. And Europe had, the world had already lost the crew battle to the US, but it was more for fun. They wanted us to send in Captain Jack as well for like old time's sake. And he actually beat Hax in that match. And Hax was considered top 10 in the world. And then after he beats Hax, they send in PPMD, and PP gets like 40 damage. Like Captain Jack only hit him with like 40% in 4 stocks or 3 stocks.
My lord.
It's like similar things does happen, I feel like, when old school players return. That Spaceys is just like a train they can't stop.
That definitely is how it feels.
I know the feeling, yeah.
We'll get this last one in. One final question for the man himself from Rox. What advice do you have to people to just succeed at life in general, Armada? How do we do it?
The Life Master.
It's a big question.
You're now a philosopher.
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like things are much easier than people make them out to be. No, but honestly,
That is my
I always try to look at things pros and cons, and if a scenario is happening, I try to see what will happen before it happens. Like, let's say, I feel like a lot of people, if you take like social skill, for example, like a lot of people argue, right? And I feel like a lot of these arguments can easily be avoided by just being taking it a little bit easy. Pick your battles. Like, I feel like a lot of people, they just pick like the uneasy routes for everything. And then they blame everyone else, that it's always someone else's fault. But a lot of the time, I feel like we ourselves have more power and more faith of our own destiny than people make it out to be.
Definitely.
So, yeah. I don't know. It's a tough one for sure, but
at least my motto is don't take things too seriously, basically. Everything is easier than it looks.
Yeah, no, that's how I feel too. Like, if something really matters to you, then sure, maybe you have to do it. But a lot of things, like a lot of like argues and stuff, it comes from things that actually doesn't matter at all. Not even for you. You used to have like some absurd pride that is like telling you that you have to like fight for life for this completely irrelevant, meaningless thing. And then it's just like, it's like a snowball, I think. Then you apply that to like every area of life, and things just gets worse.
Right.
And then Twitch ad types feels bad, man.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we get some shout outs simply? Some media going on?
Of course. So this has been the Two Dads Podcast Live. Thank you so much for joining us, Armada. You guys should definitely check out his Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. It's all popping off. He's making videos pretty often and going to be streaming for at least the coming weeks now that he's back home. So definitely give him a follow there. And yeah.
Any last words, Armada?
I wanna thank you guys for having me on. It's an amazing podcast. I hope all the viewers have had a good time, and make sure to follow Cheese and Simply's streams and social medias as well. And I really hope to hear a lot from you guys and from all the viewers in the future. And I'll try to make sure to tune into the next podcast for sure.
Yeah, likewise. Punkation in chat. Yeah, follow Punkation as well, the washed up.
Yeah, follow Punkation.
Thank you everybody for watching. Thanks Armada for being part of it. And yeah, we'll see you soon, I hope.
It's been a pleasure.
See you guys.
Goodbye, guys.